Men, listen closely. One of the most powerful shifts in any relationship doesn't happen when you're chasing, when you're pursuing, or even when you're trying to impress her. It happens the moment she realizes that you are no longer invested, no longer putting her on a pedestal, no longer living as if her attention or validation is the fuel of your existence. That shift, the realization that you've lost interest, is a wake-up call that cuts straight to her core. And if you've ever wondered how a woman truly reacts when the tables turn, this is the video you need to hear all the way to the end. Because once you understand these reactions, you'll stop making the mistakes that weaken your power. And you'll start carrying yourself like the kind of man she respects, desires, and never forgets. Now, before we dive into the lessons, I want you to make a decision. If you're serious about reclaiming your strength as a man, about never again being trapped in confusion or weakness in your relationships, then hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end. Because what I'm about to share will change the way you see yourself, women, and the balance of power in attraction. Let's get right into it. 1. The shock of withdrawal. When a woman realizes that you've lost interest, her first reaction isn't calm, it's shock. Think about it. Women are used to being pursued. Society conditions them to believe that men should chase, that your attention is a given. From the moment she notices your energy shift, from constantly texting to going silent, from always being available to suddenly unavailable, it's like the rug has been pulled from beneath her feet. This shock doesn't necessarily come from love or deep attachment, it comes from ego. A woman's sense of desirability is deeply tied to how much effort men put in. When that effort dries up, she is forced to face a question she doesn't want to ask. Why doesn't he want me anymore? And here's where your true power as a man shows itself. Because most men crumble at this stage. They get scared of her pulling back. They chase harder, trying to reassure her. But a man who understands his value does the opposite. He stands still, he holds his ground, and he allows her to feel the full weight of your absence. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Losing interest isn't about manipulation. It's about recognizing when your energy is no longer respected or reciprocated and taking control of your own attention. You aren't withdrawing to punish her. You're simply no longer willing to beg for something that should flow naturally. Now here's a question I want you to consider deeply. If a woman is only shocked by your absence but wasn't moved by your presence, what does that say about the value she placed on you when you were fully invested? That question alone should challenge the way you see not only women, but yourself. Your interest is not cheap. Your energy is not disposable. When you pull back, she feels that shock because she underestimated you. And that shock is the beginning of a new dynamic, one where she is forced to rethink how she sees you, and maybe even rethink how she sees herself. 2. The test of control. After the shock comes the test. Women are intuitive, strategic, and yes, sometimes manipulative. When she notices you've lost interest, she will test to see if your withdrawal is real or just temporary. This is the phase where you'll see mixed signals. One moment, she may act cold, pretending not to care. The next moment, she'll reach out, maybe in subtle ways, liking an old photo of yours, sending a random message, or even bringing up inside jokes just to see if you'll bite. Understand what's happening here. She's not just missing you. She's testing her power over you. She wants to know, can she still control your attention? Can she still pull you back in with crumbs of effort? This is where most men fail. They mistake these little gestures as genuine interest and come running back. But you need to see them for what they are. Tests of control. She wants to confirm that you're still hooked, that your lost interest is just an act, If you fold here, if you rush back at the first sign of attention, you've lost the game before it even began. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "He who is brave is free." Freedom in relationships comes from courage, the courage to resist being pulled like a puppet by someone else's strings. A man who is brave enough to hold his line, to not react emotionally to every bait, gains freedom. And that freedom makes him powerful. But let's go deeper here. Why do women test men this way? The truth is, women are wired to seek strength in men. Not just physical strength, but emotional strength. When she tests you, she's looking for evidence of resilience. She wants to see if you can stand firm, if you can resist the temptation of instant gratification. In other words, she wants to know, are you truly the man you claim to be? So ask yourself this. If a woman can shake your confidence with a single text, how strong are you really? The test of control is not just about her. It's about you. Every time you resist the bait, you prove to yourself that you are not desperate, that your worth doesn't rise and fall on whether or not she validates you. You build inner strength. And when she realizes she no longer has control, two things happen. She either walks away, or she starts to respect you in a way she never did before. And here's the paradox. The very moment you stop needing her attention is the moment she is most drawn to give it. 3. The mirror of desire. When a woman realizes you've lost interest and her initial shock has faded, something deeper begins to stir. She looks into the mirror of desire, not just desire for you, but desire for herself. What does this mean? It means your withdrawal forces her to reflect on her own value, her own attractiveness, and her own power. Suddenly, she's not just asking, "Why doesn't he want me?" She's asking, "What does this say about me as a woman?" Here's what most men don't understand. Women live in a constant feedback loop of validation. Compliments, attention, likes on social media. These things act like fuel. When you were giving her that energy consistently, she didn't question it. It felt normal. But when you stop, it creates a void. And that void becomes a mirror, forcing her to evaluate her own desirability. This is why many women react by doubling their efforts. Maybe she starts dressing better when she knows she'll see you. Maybe she suddenly becomes more playful or affectionate, even if she wasn't before. Or perhaps she ramps up her activity online, posting photos and stories that she hopes will catch your eye. Here's the important lesson. She isn't doing this because she suddenly discovered new love for you. She's doing it because she's been confronted with her own reflection, and in that reflection, she sees that your lack of desire challenges her self-image. Epictetus once taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The same is true here. Her reaction to your lost interest is not about you. It's about her. She is reacting to the discomfort of seeing herself through a new lens, a lens where she is no longer guaranteed your admiration. Now, here's the mind-blowing question. If she only amplifies her desire when you withdraw, is her attraction truly about who you are? Or is it about the mirror you hold up to her insecurities? Think about that. Too many men confuse reactive desire with genuine love. A woman who only wants you when you don't want her isn't necessarily drawn to your soul, your character, or your masculinity. She may simply be drawn to the reflection of herself that your attention used to provide. And as a man, you must be wise enough to know the difference. 4. The game of comparison. As her reflection deepens, many women respond by shifting into comparison. This is where things can get messy. When she realizes you've lost interest, she begins to measure herself against other women in your life, or even against the idea of other women who could take her place. Suddenly, she's not just thinking about why you lost interest, she's imagining who might have replaced her in your world. This comparison game can reveal itself in subtle comments like, "I bet you're talking to someone else now." or questions about your female friends, your co-workers, or even women she's never met. On a deeper level, she may start competing silently with imagined rivals, trying to prove to herself that she's still desirable enough to capture your attention. This is human nature, but it's especially pronounced in women because of the way status and value are tied to relationships. When you withdraw, you inadvertently trigger her fear of replacement. And this fear can either make her step up or spiral into negativity. Here's where you need to pay attention. A man rooted in strength doesn't exploit this comparison game. He doesn't rub it in her face or brag about other women. He simply continues to stand firm in his own power, letting her reactions reveal where she truly stands. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Integrity matters here. It's easy to get drunk on the power of making her jealous, but jealousy-driven attention is fleeting, and it corrodes the foundation of respect. A man who thrives on stirring insecurity will eventually lose himself in the game. Instead, understand that comparison is her battle, not yours. She must wrestle with her own fears and insecurities, and you must stand as a man who knows his worth, independent of her approval. Here's the question I want you to sit with. If her strongest motivation to win you back comes from fear of losing you to someone else, what does that say about the foundation of your connection? That question separates boys from men. Boys are satisfied with any kind of attention, even if it's born out of fear. Men want authenticity, respect, and desire that runs deeper than competition. If she can't offer that, then her comparisons only prove that your lost interest was the best decision you ever made. 5. The storm of emotion. After shock, testing, reflection, and comparison, many women enter the storm of emotion. This is the stage where her reactions become volatile, swinging between anger, sadness, frustration, and longing. You may see tears. You may hear accusations. You may even witness sudden confessions of feelings that were never spoken before. This storm is not random. It's the inevitable result of her losing control of a dynamic she thought she owned. As long as you were invested, she was secure in her role. But now, with your interest gone, she's emotionally exposed. And when emotions run high, women often swing between trying to pull you closer and pushing you away. Here's where you must remember. Her storm is not your storm. If you get pulled into the chaos, you lose your power. If you react with anger to her anger, if you rush to comfort her every time she breaks down, you've given her what she secretly wants. Proof that she still has influence over you. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The storm of emotion is often more about her imagination than about you. She imagines rejection, abandonment, or being forgotten. These imagined fears fuel her reactions. But as a man, you must remain grounded in reality. And reality is simple. Your interest waned because something in the dynamic wasn't serving you. That fact doesn't change just because she cries or rages. Now let me challenge you with this. Why do you feel responsible for fixing emotions that you didn't create? That question is crucial. Too many men become emotional caretakers, trying to soothe every storm. But by doing so, they weaken their masculinity and teach her that emotional volatility is the way to gain his attention. You must break that cycle. Her emotions are hers to master, just as yours are yours to control. And here's the paradox again. When you don't bend to the storm, when you remain calm and composed, she may actually respect you more. Because deep down, women crave stability. They crave a man who is not tossed around by every emotional wave. If you can stand firm in the storm, you prove yourself to be that man. 6. The silent pursuit. When the storm of emotions dies down, a woman often enters what I call the silent pursuit. This is not the loud, obvious chase you might expect. It's subtle, calculated, and quiet. Instead of blowing up your phone, she might hover in your orbit, liking your posts, showing up where she knows you'll be, or casually checking in under the disguise of friendship. Why does she do this? Because silence is her last weapon. She knows direct confrontation didn't work. She knows emotional storms didn't shake you. Now she's trying to slip back into your life without admitting that she's chasing you. Here's the key. This stage reveals the truth of how attraction works. A woman's respect for you skyrockets when she feels she must pursue you in some way. The roles reverse. Suddenly, she is the one analyzing your behavior, waiting for your response, questioning your interest. And as long as you remain consistent, firm, calm, unbothered, she will keep trying to find cracks in your armor. But here's where men go wrong. They get flattered by this silent pursuit and rush back in, thinking, she must really care now. Number. She cares about regaining what she lost, your attention, your validation, her control. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That wisdom applies here. Do not play her game of subtlety, indirect signals, and half-hearted gestures. Don't mirror her tactics. Instead, continue living with clarity. If you've moved on, stay moved on. If she truly wants a place in your life again, it should not come through hints or silent gestures. It should come through direct, honest effort. So let me ask you this. If the only way she reappears in your life is through silence and shadows, does she truly value you? Or does she simply fear the emptiness left without you? This stage is dangerous because it's deceptive. But if you stay clear-eyed, you'll see it for what it is. A quiet confirmation that your lost interest was more powerful than her loudest emotions. 7. The awakening of respect. If, and this is a big if, you remain consistent through every stage, something remarkable happens. A woman who once took you for granted begins to awaken to a new respect for you. She sees that you are not a man driven by neediness, not a man who collapses under pressure, not a man whose world revolves around her validation. You are a man who values himself first, a man who can walk away without bitterness, a man who embodies strength. And that respect is more valuable than any temporary affection or half-hearted love. Because once a woman truly respects you, everything changes. Her words carry a different tone. Her actions come from a place of genuine desire, not ego or insecurity. And even if she never says it out loud, she knows deep down that losing your interest taught her one of the hardest lessons she'll ever face. Men like you are rare. But let me warn you, this respect is not guaranteed. Some women will never reach it. Some will stay stuck in their storm, their comparisons, their silent games. That's not your problem. Your job is not to force her awakening. Your job is to embody the kind of man who earns respect naturally, simply by standing firm in who he is. Epictetus said it best. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, don't seek approval. Don't seek to be understood. Don't seek validation. Seek growth, strength, and wisdom. When you live by that code, respect follows, whether from her or from the world at large. So let me ask you one final question to burn into your mind. Do you want to be remembered as the man who begged for her interest, or the man whose lost interest made her remember his worth forever? The choice is yours. Men, when a woman realizes you've lost interest, her reactions reveal more about her than they do about you. Shock, tests, comparisons, emotions, silence. All of these are simply stages she goes through when faced with the reality that your attention is no longer guaranteed. But the real lesson here is not about her. It's about you. You must decide whether you'll remain the man who chases validation, or the man who holds his ground in self-respect. A woman may test you, she may storm, she may pursue you in silence, but your power lies in not being moved. Because the moment you stop needing her is the moment she either respects you or regrets losing you. So carry this truth with you. Your interest is a gift, not a given. Protect it, value it, give it only to those who truly deserve it. And remember, respect is earned not by chasing, but by standing firm in your worth. If this message hit you, subscribe now, stay with me, because every week we're breaking down the truths about women, relationships, and the kind of strength every man needs to thrive. Until next time, hold the line, protect your value, and never forget, you are the prize.